Welcome back to What Would You Ask podcast. My guest today participated in Big Break 5 Hawaii. It premiered on February 7th, 2006. Boy, it does not feel like it was that long ago as a Big Break fan, right?
It was so long ago, it feels like.
The winner received 2 LPGA Tour event entry into the 2 events. And I believe they also had the Futures Tour paid for, like all the entry fees and stuff like that, which is really cool for the following season. Turtle Bay was the site. And man, this lady's like twofold, right? She's been described as sweet, kind, caring, genuine. And so that's one side of her. And then there's another side that we all saw, which is this fiery, intense, tough competitor. Pretty cool. And fortunately, we got both of those people on the show today. I'm really excited to welcome Kim Lewellen to What Would You Ask podcast. Hi, Kim.
Hello. I'm thrilled to be here, Nick. And when you asked me to be on the show, and I'm going to have to really go back some years and recollect some of this. And I'm going to tell you what, being on the Big Break was one of the most fun, exciting things. I'm a college coach now, and I tell my young ladies, if it ever comes back, you've got to do it because it's a blast. So thanks for having me.
Well, we understand, and I'm hopefully going to help you through some of this to remember it. And we certainly want to hear about what you're doing now at the end of the show, because that's the exciting piece. And a lot of our folks want to know that. I was just telling Kim that one of our viewers and listeners asked about her pillow from her kids. That's how much, you guys care. Once we announce these guests that we have on from Big Break, you guys cover the complete gamut of questions for these folks. So we're excited to get right in. That being said, we're going to jump right into quick hitters. Ashley from St. Petersburg, Florida asked, did the production aspect of Big Break affect your game with all the cameras and setup times?
I would say it affects you initially. When you first get there, you see them and you're in awe, and there'll be a time where they'll say, wait, hold on, we need to move this camera here. We have to move it there. So at times it can, but I think they give you what you're going to have to do. So they're going to say to everybody, you're going to have a shot between 120 and 160. Go practice that. So you get so wrapped up, or at least I did, in what I had to do, that even when they're moving the cameras around, I'm still trying to figure out what are they going to have me do? What shot am I going to have to navigate? So I got wrapped up in the process of what was going on, sort of like you do in golf, and you around you. And then also you become great friends with the cameraman. So everybody that's on that crew, I still keep in touch with now. And so I'll see them sometimes out at other events that I'm at coaching, and they'll come right up to me and I'll see them. And so you become friendly with them. So it can become a joke too. Do you really need to move that? I mean, that type of thing. So right. It becomes a big family out there. We have a good time. And so what can be a little bit of a distraction at the beginning, you get used to.
Excellent. Miguel from Newport News, Virginia asked, was it tougher mentally or physically?
That's a great one. I think mentally in the beginning, and then you don't get a lot of sleep, especially at the beginning. You have so many contestants. They have to get so many challenges done. Then you have all of the interviews with everybody. So you're not getting in bed till 1 o'clock, and then you're up getting mic'd up at 6:30. And if you're a young lady, you're trying to look as cute as you can. So you're getting up an hour before then. And so it took a lot of time. I didn't get a lot of sleep. So it became mentally and then physically draining towards the end. And I think you can see that, especially towards the end when nerves get a little bit more or people get a little bit short. I think a lot of it's a lack of sleep, to be honest with you.
Steve from Oak Brook, Illinois asked, did you know anyone on the show when you arrived?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I knew Jeannie really well, Christina really well, and then Ashley. So I knew those 3 really well coming in. We're sort of from the same area. We became great. We even became closer as the show went on.
Jeannie ended up being your roommate, right?
Right. Jeannie was my roommate. She ended up being an assistant coach as well. And so know her very well. Christina Tucker, And I still keep in touch with her quite a bit. Her husband actually went to Wake Forest, and so I keep up with him and at football games. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
it's a blast. Yeah, golf's a small world, as you know. So
Yeah. Scott from San Diego asked, did you become close to anyone while on the show? And are you still connected today? You kind of answered that previous, but anybody else besides the three girls you knew?
I would say those three I keep in touch with the most right now. I have a great picture. I should send it to you of Jeannie and Christina and I walking at a college tournament together. They were coming to watch some of their friends, and I was out there, and we got a great picture. And there's a few times on Facebook I'll throw out, here's some of my big break friends.
Oh, that's
so,
cool. That's
yeah.
really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Brian from Little Rock, Arkansas said, what did you guys do at night? You must have been tired from the long days, but did you ever go out or hang out?
Mm-hmm. Before elimination, which I really never had, even though I was eliminated late in the game in 5, it was so late that I only had one night that was free. Like I said before, you're doing interviews to 12:30 at night, knowing you have to get up at 4 or 4:30.
Yeah.
You're going to bed. You're going to bed right after the interviews. There will be times, while you're waiting for interviews, you're all in a big room. You're all talking. You're all having a good time. For the most part, if you've had a good day on the course, you're having a good time. So there wasn't a lot of going out or that type of thing until you were eliminated. Then once you're eliminated, you have a lot of free time.
Got it. Good segue to Mike's question from Framingham, Massachusetts. So what happens to the eliminated folks? What do they do during the day? Do they get to play golf on another course? Do you see the other players at all after you're eliminated?
Right. I think it depends on which show you're on. On the 2 that I was on, 5 in the reunion, if you were eliminated, you pretty much got to choose what you wanted to do the next day. So now when I was in Hawaii, I didn't get eliminated till late. So I only had one night. I think they threw it was like a party with a luau and that type thing in the music. So they did that a little bit for those that were there. So that was a blast. But in the reunion, I got eliminated quickly. So I had a lot of time, and you have to stick around, and you think, oh, this might be great. But once you're eliminated, you're sort of sad. You're like, okay, I have a family I'd love to be going back to. So what I did is that we played golf. We played golf every day. We could go to the pool every day. The reunion show, again, once when I was eliminated, it was at the reunion in Florida. So we went to the pool and played golf every day. So it ended up being a good time, even though the elimination.
Poor Mike Foster still, and you guys know from the interview we had with him. If you haven't heard it, go to our website. But Mike's still upset about letting Kim down in the reunion show. And I'm not going to steal his thunder. Listen to what he had to say about it. It's just haunting him. Poor big guy.
It's part of it. It's part of it. And I had a bunker shot I should have made up my ground for, and I didn't. So
we had so many questions for Kim, and we're going to work them through the whole show. So listen up for your question. But a quick programming note: if you want to have your questions answered by your favorite big break star and asked during the quick hitter segment, excuse me, send them to all the social media channels. What would you ask on Instagram and Twitter and all the places my kids know that I don't know? They're all there. We're on everywhere. And also our website at whatwouldyoutask.com. Let's get into the journey, Kim. Talk about a little bit about, were you a fan of Big Break? How did you find out about the tryouts? What motivated you to get involved with Big Break?
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, I was playing golf with a friend of mine, and my kids were young. At this moment, I really wasn't involved in coaching yet. I was in between moving and had moved to Raleigh, wanted to get back in the golf industry, to be honest with you. Had played, started coaching a little bit, wanted to get back in the golf industry. At that moment, I wasn't. I was playing with a friend of mine, a high handicapper. She shoots in the hundreds. Great friend of mine. And she goes, I've been watching this awesome show, and I think you'd be great at it. And so I said, well, tell me about it. And then she says, it's the Big Break. So I go and I start researching it. And then I said, this is just right up my alley. I mean, I had loved to compete with challenges. At that moment, I hadn't played a lot of golf. So it was much better at having to hit a trick shot or a flop shot than, to be honest, to have to hit it. I never hit it very far. So to have to hit it and play a normal game of golf probably would have lost sooner than if it was these challenges. I was pretty good at those. And so knew that it was right up my alley. So then started diving into what do I need to do? They send resumes. So at the beginning, you send a resume, and they look at the resumes. At this time, I was on Big Break 5, so it was a big deal. So I think they had narrowed it down from maybe there were 150 left from resumes. And so after those 150 resumes, there were probably 300 resumes. They narrowed it down to 150. Then they did local tryouts, local meaning Florida for me. I was in North Carolina at the time. So
wow, that's amazing. I was talking to, I think it was Toph Peterson from Myrtle Beach and Charlie Harrison from Myrtle Beach, and they said there was an excess of 5,000 resumes as the thing.
And I actually have no idea how many.
I mean, it's just kept. Well, you guys kind of build it. You guys laid the framework in the early seasons, but that thing in season 18, 20, 22, it was a highest rated show on Golf Channel from the beginning. Matter of fact, the Big Break, that whatever it is, 2 was the highest rated ever, and then Reunion was like the top 3 ever on Golf Channel. Forget about Big Break. So that's pretty impressive because you got shows that are, Rory's doing shows on there, and still, there's a lot of shows on Golf Channel. That's pretty impressive. James from Toronto asks, Kim, how did you prepare for Big Break? And did you speak to any previous contestants? Good question.
That was a good question. I didn't speak to any previous contestants, but I went and watched the challenges. And so I would train based off of what they had done in the past, hoping that I'd see that again. So you knew the glass was going to be there. So
can't tell she's a coach, by the way, folks, right? Preparation, everything's preparation. She's got film. She's looking at
film. I'm looking at it. So I prepared took a flag, put it out to what I thought the distance was, and just practice breaking the glass if I could hit the flag, the pin. So I practiced that, and I was actually really good at that quickly. I think in 5 I hit it either first or second time, and same in the Reunion. So I hit that pretty quickly. You knew that was going to be one. Practiced that. Did a lot of sort of the cheese ball or the flop shots. Working the ball, which was part of the interview process. When I went down to Florida, they wanted to make sure you could hit flop shots, and they wanted to make sure you could work the ball. So I felt like working the ball might be something that they would put in there. So I practiced working the ball, one clubbing, that type of thing. Distance, I've never been able to hit it very far. So I knew even as preparing for that, doing anything I could, that wasn't going to be something I was going to be great at. So it was going to have to be more proximity to hole type thing. So I really focused in that area.
Yeah, distance control is definitely, the ladder drills they do and some of the things in the rings, they got to be precise. That's kind of up your alley though, right? You might not be long, but you're pretty accurate. And you showed that. Right.
And that's how I trained. Proximity to hole. And I think, you did have across the board different handicaps. So it might not have been long for, let's say, the LPGA, but for what we were doing, I was long enough, and so then you just wanted to focus on proximity to hole, like you were saying.
Before we jump into your actual performance in Big Break 5, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a reoccurring theme that I've noticed in all the interviews we do. And for those of you who know I'm going to talk about pressure, it's time to go get your favorite cocktail, because I know I say this over and over again, but I think it's really important. I think it's also interesting to hear the feedback from the big breakers. I've talked to people that are on the LPGA tour now. I've talked to coaches like yourself. I've talked to PGA players that have all participated in Big Break, and they still say that over a shot, not a circumstance, right? I'm trying out for the U.S. Open, and I got to birdie the next hole. It's a lot of pressure. But single shot, they haven't experienced that standing over a ball like they did in Big Break. And they talked about a number of things, Kim. They talked about the weather can be a factor. The talent in your group can be a factor. The cameras can be a factor, but one of the things that they mentioned that is the production is the biggest thing, is the fact that, and Mark Murphy has said this, and folks, I know you've heard this 1,000 times, but Mark Murphy said when he was in Ireland, he sat on a bench in 48-degree weather in raining sideways. He put a blanket around him and then a cover so it wouldn't, the rain wouldn't get the blanket wet. And he sat there for 90 minutes. And this is the champion of Ireland. And then they said, Mark, you're up. And he came out, took one shot at the flop ball, went back and sat down for 60 more minutes, and then came out and shot another shot. That, to me, I don't have to write that story down because that's pressure. Like, how in the heck are you doing, even succeeding? And is it a representation? I don't know if I was good as I'm a hack 12 handicap that hits it sideways. So, but if I was a good golfer, I don't know if I want to put myself, of course I would challenge myself anytime, but that's amazing pressure. Agreed?
Right. No, the pressure that you have, I mentioned it prior, is they say, okay, you're going to have a certain shot. You're going to have to hit a flop shot, or you're going to have to, this is going to be a wedge challenge. So you go out there and you don't know what's coming. Okay, I've got to go. It's a wedge challenge. You have 40 minutes to go work on your wedges. You do that. Then all of a sudden you see what it is. So then you're processing it. Then you're watching everybody else do it. So again, what I'm doing is I thrived on watching them do it, and maybe even sitting back and watching, because I'm trying to figure out, what do I need to do? How do I need, if they couldn't pull it off, how could I pull it off? So the whole time I'm thinking through, trying to learn from what they're doing. Now your body does get, you're not activated. I don't know how much you've been watching DeChambeau, but he gets activated before he plays, right?
Yes,
or you do not get activated. And so you're having to all of a sudden figure out, okay, here's the shot. I've got it. It's been 40 minutes and I've hit another shot. What can I do? So, I did a lot of visualization when I was out there visualizing the shot. If I couldn't physically do it, I would visualize things that I wanted to do. And the interesting thing is, after I left that, okay, prior to, I practiced for, goodness, as soon as I knew I was on it, I practiced nonstop. Get there, going through that, here, you're going to have this challenge, you've got 40 minutes, then you're thrown into this competitive nature. When I got done, I was a great golfer, better than I was before I had, gotten to that show because of what I'd been through. So I've taken this to my coaching, and there are so many times I'll be like, all right, we're going to do a challenge. It's going to be a wedge challenge. Go for 40 minutes. And then I do an elimination, just like what they did through me.
That's cool.
That's
really cool.
Because it's pressure. And you might not be kicked off the show, but you're kicked off the team for an hour. Do you know what I mean?
You don't want to lose your scholarship. Yeah.
You don't want to lose. We don't go to that extreme. But it does create a lot of pressure that if I can recreate now in what I do, I've seen great outcomes from that.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It's really neat.
So let's talk about the actual participation in Big Break 5. I'm going to throw a few names at you, and I want you to just give me some opinions about these people. So Becky, obviously really good player, gets kicked off, comes back. Tell me a little bit about Becky.
Mm-hmm. Goodness, great athlete, hits the ball exceptionally well. Gets kicked off and then was put back on. And I think all of us, when she was put back on, was like, oh, nuts. I mean, we just got rid of an outstanding player. Our chances have just gotten up, and then now she's back in it. Now that's part of the game. It's a reality show. They can do whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want sporadically to sort of maybe even guide some of the outcomes, and so and you could see that was happening. She's an awesome player, good at what she does. She was thrown back in, and I think all of us were like, oh, we got to try to beat this one again. So, yeah.
How about Ashley? There was a lot of discussion as the series progressed that she was trying to be intimidating, and she was the eventual winner. So whatever she did was effective. But and I forgot who it was. I apologize, but somebody said, and it was constant that they were saying that episode after episode, and then finally, one of the young ladies said, she's trying to be intimidating, but nobody's intimidated by her. You know, you have a bunch of players that can play out there for the most part. Tell me a little bit about Ashley.
You know, I think Ashley got a bad rap on my show, to be honest with you. And I know her really well. I actually played golf at the University of North Carolina, and she played golf at the University. So we knew each other well. You know, she tells you what she thinks. That's her personality. She can hit it a long way. She's got a vibrant personality. So I think she could come across that way, or you could say this is who she is. You know, I mean, in my opinion, the most intimidating ones are the ones that don't say too much. You know, I mean, Tiger Woods walks in and he doesn't have to say anything. You know, yeah. He's just got a presence about him. So I think she got a bit of a bad rap. I think that's her personality. I think that's who she is. And she was a character. And I think that, you know, they made her that character, which made the show very popular. And I think she got a little bit of a bad rap. She's a great player with a great personality. And she just tells you like it is. And I think you could be rubbed maybe the wrong way a little bit by that, but she's a great young lady.
So help us. So you arrive at Turtle Bay, and by the way, I mean, the cottages you're getting right on the beach. I mean, could it be better than that? So it's like you go to this great place in Hawaii, right? And then they drop it on you. And help us figure this out. And it may be just, you know, me not figuring it out, but somebody didn't show up, and then somebody's on the way, if you remember this, and some girl's in the airport, and we see this girl getting her stuff, and there's 10 people waiting, but there's only 10 beds. So by the end of the day, somebody's going home. A lot of pressure. We see you guys lined up, and it says, look, they're your cottages. Matter of fact, you were really pumped. I was watching, because I'm watching you. You were like, yes, we're got those cottages. You're like, awesome. Yeah. But then Vince says there's only 10 beds, and there's going to be 11 of us. So somebody's going home, and that's like tomorrow, the next day, they said somebody's going to be eliminated. That's top pressure right off the get-go. I mean, right?
And I think it was Joanne, wasn't it? I think ended up getting eliminated that next day.
I believe it was to Nikki, right? Nikki.
Yeah, exactly. It was. Right. Yeah. Right. And great player too. So, you know, you didn't know what to expect. I mean, minute by minute, day by day, you know, you just didn't know what to expect. You knew that they were going to be throwing things at you. But I'll tell you what, to be at Turtle Bay, where we were in Hawaii, on the cottages, you walk into your room, and there's FootJoy shoes everywhere. You know, all on your sides, all fun Hawaiian colors, because we're in Hawaii. Yeah. I think we were all in a candy store. But yes, now remember, you brought that to my attention. Now it's coming right back to me. And him saying someone's going to be eliminated. And I now remember that whole, and watching that with Nikki and Joanne, knowing that somebody was going to go home. And you know, Joanne, great player. And so to see that happen now, it's coming back to me. That was an interesting day. And I think it probably showed to all of us, this is what the next 2 weeks are going to look like. I mean, you don't know what's going to be thrown at you, and people are going to be going home.
We get into one of the fan favorite competitions, which is the glass break. And everybody wants to hear about your thoughts about, was it bigger than you thought? Was the glass smaller than it thought? Was it harder? Were they higher? Were they farther away? Everybody wants to hear. You fared very well, by the way. I mean, I was watching tape last night, and the one that you hit on Dana, center cut. I mean, they should use that as a you know, highlight, because that was really awesome. How did that? Tell us a little bit about your impressions of the glass break.
Well, like I said, you know that's going to be on there. So I practiced it. I was excited for it. Now, I practiced it with a flag. So big difference when you're out there, and this one of the first things you do, and your heart's, you know, pounding. But then when you hit the glass, it is so exciting to hit that, to shatter it. Very, very, very exciting. I would have to say that challenge is one of the most fun, because it's at the beginning, because of all the nerves, and then just because of the noise that it makes when you do it. It's a blast. And I'll tell you what, since being back, I've tried to recreate that in so many ways, either with my team or with if I'm doing some fun outings with people, doing the best I can to recreate that, because that's a blast to do.
So Becky ends up winning it. You're in the final three in that
Mm-hmm.
competition. You move on to a long drive with a grid there. You're up against Christina. You think you're out of the grid, but you end up being in, pick up the 6 points. And then she is like out what you thought you were in. She was out by like 2. And I think, did she end up getting eliminated? I think Christina got eliminated right on that same show that you did.
Yeah. Was it that one?
I think, or maybe the next, but she was another really good player that was
very good player.
Yeah. So, and then we
from
move
a
on.
resume standpoint, she was a much better player than I was at the time, at that moment. So
You go on to face Katie head to head. You had a tough hole. This was a tough hole for you. You drove it in the rough, and then you hit it to the side of the green where it was, you made a really good chip though. You made a really good chip, but she just had like a, I don't know. She 2-putted and beat you in that elimination. But where I want to go to in this thing is you move to the chipping, and I'm thinking when I first saw this chipping, this is I guess the second phase of that same. The challenges run into each other. It's hard to follow, so bear with me. But they had a 10-point center circle, and then when I first saw it, because they had probably 5 different circles out there on the green, you guys will remember what I'm talking about. The 10 was like 3 foot around. I'm thinking nobody's going to get it, and here comes Kim. Boom, she puts it in there. And I think somebody else put it in there too. Maybe Christina was not eliminated yet because I think she put it in there. I was like, how are these guys shooting chip shots and bunker shots to like 2 feet every time? It was impressive. You had a very good group, a talented group of women.
Very good. The group that I had, you had a lot of All-Americans that had played at top, Division I schools. And so you couldn't think, oh, I'm going to win this challenge or I've got this. There was none of that. You had to go in there, hopefully with your A game each time, or at least know that they were going to come with it. And so I remember that really well, the chipping piece to it. And those circles were small. I think I'm impressed that we all did that well, because they were small circles now that you said that.
So you end up in an elimination match after that. 3 holes. It's you and Becky and Nikki, I think, was the other one. To be fair, are you looking? Nikki's struggling. Okay, she's not playing great. She's hitting a shot. You see, she has talent. She's hitting a bunker shot in real nice form and lands well, rolls out perfect in one hole. Then the next thing you're like, I can't believe that she hit that. So you're probably looking at this like, I can win this, but it's still tough. After 2 holes of this 3-hole thing, you have 5 shots. Becky has 6 shots, and Nikki has 7 going into the last hole. Do you remember that competition?
Nikki had how many?
7. She was the most. She had the most shots at that point. So you reflect on camera to say, look, I feel safe going into this last location because, whether Becky beats me or I beat her, I'm not going to lose 2 shots on Nikki at the end of this, right? So you feel comfortable, and you end up going and hitting it to 10 feet, 2-putting, and being safe. It's just, what's the emotion like during that elimination? We've seen now people leaving. We've seen Becky. We've seen Christina. Anyone can lose at any time.
Oh yeah, and you really good players, like I said, All-Americans that have been eliminated, and so you go in there nervous whether you have 2 shots or 3 shots or whatever it is. You never know what's going to happen, and Nikki had shown to do some really good things. She hadn't played as much as a lot of the other young ladies had played. She had started later in life in the game, and so I felt like I might have had that edge on just experience going into that, which I think I probably did. But then again, you never know what's going to, any sport, that's what makes sports what they are. You don't know what's going to happen until the last putt goes in and the last shot's done.
You reach the final 4, and I want to add in Erin with an E because she puts it in quotations. From Chapel Hill, North Carolina, she says, Kim, go Heels. And she says, getting to the final 4, did that meet your expectations?
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest. I hadn't played a lot of competitive golf previous to that big break, the big break 5. I had my 2 children. I'd actually followed my husband to the UK while he was studying. So I hadn't played a lot of golf. Played a lot of golf from 30 to 14 years old to 30, then not a lot of golf from 30 to 35, and then 35 big break. So I definitely think I exceeded what I thought I was going to be able to do. I think I was a character. I was the oldest one there. I was the mom. That's why I was there. I had a great resume as a younger player, but I exceeded. When I went into that Final Four, I was thrilled to be there, and I think I'd exceeded what I thought I could do. And, like I said, there were some All-Americans that had gotten eliminated. So for me to be where I was thrilled.
That's awesome. So the next show, it comes down to you and your roommate.
Yes. And I remember this really well.
I'm sure. Well, take us through it. I want to talk to you a little bit about, let me give you the hypothetical up front. Would the coach today recommend Kim, the player on the side of the green, to use a putter in that rough? Or would she recommend a wedge? Or would she say, look, you got to know the situation, how you're feeling, how you're playing, your comfort level? What would the coach say? But let's not go. I'm just going to give you that to think about as you take us through what your remembrances are of the elimination match. So take us through. You guys are on the tee. You remember what happened off the tee? You both got off pretty well.
Yeah, you need to remind me. I remember what happened around the greens a lot. So as you can tell by my response at the end.
She ends up with a 30-footer on the green. She's not hitting that putt for birdie. No way. You're 4 inches off the green in what looks like really thick, ugly rough. It's not sitting up. It's down. It's not buried, but it's not a great lie. You can get your putter at it like you did. Yeah. And you decide to go with the putter. Tell us a little bit about the thought process of that.
I would probably say at the moment, I'm thinking, you hear it all the time. If you have a good enough lie and you can take your putter to it, you can get a putter onto it, or you can take a wedge onto it, your odds of getting it closer for a putter are typically going to be better.
Jeannie, let me just interject this. Jeannie says exactly that while you're looking at this. She said, I'm a little bit surprised she's taking a putter, but I'd rather have the comfort of the putter to get it close than a wedge. I think it's a smart move. She says that. One of the other ladies that's watching says, and I'd like to hear your feedback on this, and I'm not picking on you. You just missed a 3-footer on the hole before with a putt, right? So now you're going back to that same stick. Here we go. Is that comfort level over that putter?
Yeah. And I think, to be honest, thinking back, obviously, when you think back at something, you think, well, I could have changed that. I'm having, again, hadn't competed a lot. I'm going back to when I competed when I was playing on tour. And what I did well was putt. I was a phenomenal putter. So I didn't have scars of putting at all. And so if I had that putter in my hand, I actually thought I could make everything. Now, was I doing it that week? Obviously not at all. Was I doing it on that thick Bermuda grass that I'm not quite used to over here in the East Coast? Probably needed to think through that. And as a coach, I would have my players think through that. Now, these are grasses you're not comfortable with. You don't play on that often. They're thicker. The grain's going to affect it more. And so those were things as a coach I would now look at. At that moment there, all I could think about was I used to be a great putter. If I can get that in my hand, get it in my hand. So at that moment, I probably wasn't thinking about the situation I was in more than reflecting on some things that I had done well in the past.
So she ends up taking the hole, and she talks about it was really bittersweet because you guys are friends, and she obviously wants to continue, and she's happy that she made that. I think she had a four-footer or something, and she made it to continue. And you kind of, you smiled and you walked away and you talked about, you gave everything you had and you talked about your family. And I've asked this to quite a few folks on the show. There are some people that do everything they can from a preparation standpoint and then work their tails off while they're in the match and do everything they can to win. And I would guess, I don't guess, and now that I'm in it and have talked to so many people, I know that everybody on this show, otherwise you wouldn't join, wants to win. But there are some people that really have to win. You talked about all the other things that are going on in your life with coaching and your family and all of that stuff. This was I don't want to just say it was just another experience for you, but it kind of was just another experience. Is that fair?
That is fair. It was an experience where I had been out of golf, gotten back into golf. And like I was telling you, I wanted to get back into golf. I missed competing, whether it was myself. That's why I got into coaching, was to compete again. And so I'm not very good at bowling or cards or anything, but golf. And so you give me that tool to compete. I just like to compete, and that's the best tool I have to compete at. And so being able to do that in that stage and go that long was probably one of the most fun times in competition that I ever had. And I did go further along than I thought. And if my putter had, probably I shouldn't be blaming it on my putter, if I had known the greens a little bit better at the time, maybe could have even gone on, to win that match. So it was just a blast to compete again. I hadn't competed in so long. It was just a blast to compete, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And when I lost, I thought, well, man, that was a long ride for me. So I loved it.
That's cool. Anthony from Brooklyn, New York, he asks, now that it's over and it finally airs, did you become an instant celebrity at home? What happened to you?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, very much so. Like you said, a popular show. So even now I go in the airports and it's Kim, hey Kim from Big Break. Hey Kim, can I get a picture with you? And that's fun and that's neat. And I think it brought what was needed at that time too, for young ladies to be interested in the game. And I think it got them more interested in the game. And hey, there's Kim from Big Break, will you sign my ball? And so you are instant celebrity. And what was really funny is you can't tell anybody. I couldn't tell anybody. Couldn't tell my husband, couldn't tell my parents, couldn't tell my team. Well, my father the whole time is like, oh man, you're winning. You're going to win. He kept thinking the whole time, as a father would, right?
Yep.
You're going to win this thing. Well, I had my teammates going in my garage looking to see if there was a car in there, like peeking in, seeing if I had won. They were determined. Coaches won. And I was like, you'll have to see. You'll have to see. So yeah, it was, you're a celebrity. The people in your life around you that are so excited to watch the next episode and experience every episode. My team, we had a gathering at my house to watch it because they couldn't wait. And of course, the one I know I get eliminated, I'm like, this isn't going to end well. They're going to feel so bad at the end. But it was a blast for everybody in the community.
So Kim has moved on, and we're going to have some announcements about having Kim come back and talk to her more about what she's doing today and get really into it at a granular level to find out some interesting things. She has obviously stayed in the industry, and I'll let her tell you what she's doing, but really accomplished. And you're going to see some promo stuff come out all over about what we're doing in August with some of the folks from Big Break on their careers. And Kim's definitely going to be one of those. Because if you look at her resume, impressive, as she mentioned early on as a player early on in her career, it is unbelievable. We're talking about a 4-time ACC coach. We're talking about coach of the year, I think this year in the coronavirus world. We're talking about bringing teams that were at universities where she coached, and my sons both play travel ball, and we don't talk about the number that's after the D. I guess that's the thing to say. But the number that's after a lot of colleges she's been at is 1. And that matters to those that are involved in playing. So with that, I'm going to ask you the question everybody wants to know. What are you up to today?
Right. I am the head coach at Wake Forest University. I have been there the last 2 years, and phenomenal place. This year we finished ranked number 1 in the country, and last year we finished the NCAA championship number 2. We lost in the final match. So through my eliminations of Big Break, I think I got through this one without throwing my putter, but we were second runner-up at the national championship last year, and then with the COVID this year, we didn't have a national championship, but we were finished ranked number 1. So fortunate at Wake Forest to have a wonderful coaching opportunity there. And prior to that, I was the coach of the University of Virginia for 12 years. Really enjoyed the ACC. Have played my ACC golf at the University of North Carolina. And then prior to that was the coach at East Carolina, which was when I was also doing the reunion show. So I'm wearing all my East Carolina gear at the reunion show. But that was one of my first coaching gigs that sort of the Big Break helped me get into. And so I think the popularity of the show, my interest in competition and being competitive got my juices flowing for college coaching. And so that's sort of where I ended up taking that experience. And now I'm here, 15 years later, and loving where I'm at and competing still.
That's awesome. And like I said, we're going to explore more of that when we do the Big Break career shows in August. And we'll definitely get more details about what's going on with Kim. And I want to really go through the progression of that transformation from player to coach and talk about how, the ups and downs of it. It's not an easy road. It's like we all have our jobs, and just because it's glamorous and it's coaching doesn't make it that any easier. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of preparation. It's not just walking around the golf course with cool gear. I want to hear more about it. I want you guys to hear. I know you do. So we're going to look forward to that. Let's close it up, Kim, on this. How would you summarize your Big Break experience?
Mm-hmm. I would summarize it as one of the best and most fun experiences I've been able to do with golf. I'll be 50 this year, oh my goodness. And I would have to say, in all of my years playing golf, the most fun, competitive experience I've ever had, and made friends for a lifetime. I'll get teary-eyed here, but both in 5 and in 7. And I tell my young ladies, if they ever bring the show back, you need to do it, because it's a good time, and I think it teaches you a lot of life lessons as well.
Well, listen, we're excited that you joined us. We're excited that we're going to talk to you again, first on the reunion show, then on the career show. So I won't say goodbye. I'll just say we'll be talking soon. So thanks, Kim, for your time today.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, take care.